The start of the film is set someplace during World War II in Berlin.
The FHR, Hitler, is with a contact mentor named Keppel. Hitler communicates his conflict with the token of individuals hello to Keppel. He whines that although the Nazi salute is outformed, individuals need to basically lift their hands up to the wrist and show regard. Then, he portrays that he has done all that could be within reach by a human to obliterate the groundworks of the foe who defiled their dirt. He finds the German presence unlimited and finds it disturbing that he is here as well. In the accompanying scene, he awakens on the ground someplace in a woodland.
While admiring the sky, he sees that the hostile airplanes are missing and surmises that they could have taken some rest.
Unexpectedly, a boar comes skipping towards him and stops right next to him.
He raises himself and heads towards a structure past the shrubbery.
He is then moved toward by 3 small children who question him, assuming he is okay. Hitler takes a gander at them and thinks that they are the eventual fate of the country. He then asks them the way to the road. Right then and there, a journalist, Fabian Sawatzki, is shooting the children on his camera. Hitler is seen on the furthest side of the screen.
He gets his military cap and tells himself that he ought to go to the FHR shelter.
Hitler gets to the road and gets stunned at individuals riding mono with bicycles. He finds individuals catching him in their camera and communicates that although the rubber went, individuals have gone distraught. Then, he feels a cutting-edge vehicle by his hand and questions himself on the off chance that he fell in a state of unconsciousness and missed the triumph. He understands that he doesn't know about his situation absolutely and makes himself aware to gather more data. Then, he gets some information about the area of chancellery, but the individual rather asks him for an image. He gets upset by the camera's flares as individuals approach him and take photographs reciprocally. Confounded by the surprising occasions around him, he closes something left hand in the spot.
As Hitler leaves, he finds a lady talking in German on her telephone. He draws nearer and gets some information about the ongoing date, but the lady gets panicked and sprays his eyes.
Hitler cries in torment as his eyes get rosy and his vision gets obscured. He staggers and strolls to a paper shop close by. He gets stunned to see the date October 3rd, 2014, composed on the paper and tumbles to the ground without a moment's delay.
Elsewhere, the supervisor of a television slot, Karna, acclaims Mr. Christoph Sensenbrink for his great work as the representative's head. He proposes a higher arrangement, but rather reports another laborer named Miss Catabellini as the overseeing chief. Because of this, Christoph gets stunned and disappointed. He comes to his office and vents his displeasure out at a striving movie producer named Fabian.
Regardless of Fabian's best endeavors to persuade his chief, he gets terminated and tossed out by the gatekeepers.
Sometime later, Hitler awakens at the news shop and gets some information about the date.
He affirms that it is as a matter of fact 2014.
A confounded Hitler questions in the event that the retailer has captured him, and suspects, assuming that this is a stunt play of the foe's mystery administration.
He takes steps to kill the business person in the event that he is working for the foe, but the retailer provides him with a bar of chocolate, all things being equal. Hitler opens it after a real struggle and sniffs it.
He pronounces it as economically pressed grain and questions the retailer if there is still a lack of bread.
The business person inquires as to whether they are recording a narrative someplace close by, confusing him with an entertainer.
The business person then, at that point, says that he looks very closely like the FHR, to which Hitler answers that he is the FHR. From that point onward, Hitler sees the Turkish paper and inquires as to whether the business person has Saint Armor or Panzerbar. The retailer says that he has more Turkish clients.
Hitler gets flabbergasted at the presence of Turkish individuals in Berlin.
He then starts gathering data from the paper. While understanding it, he expects that he didn't win the conflict before and Germany was given to the hands of ungainly ladies having the magnetism of a wet noodle. He further regrets the presence of Poland and concludes the conflict to be a total waste. In the meantime, Fabian views his video announcing about soccer and cries, saddened by the fact that he was terminated. His MOM calms him and requests that he stop the video, seeing Hitler behind. Fabian is entertained at the discovery of an individual so comparable to Hitler.
Back in the shop, the retailer requests that Hitler keep the paper to the side and stand outside. Hitler spites being approached to work.
The retailer proposes Hitler clean his garments, for they are smelling.
He then, at that point, goes to a laundry place and requests that they clean his uniform. Hitler inquires as to whether they have one more uniform since he can't leave bare.
Then, we see Hitler walking to the news dealer with pants and a sweater on. Fabian, then again,
has somehow figured out how to track him down and is sitting tight for him in the shop.
After getting a gander at Hitler, he is flabbergasted at his appearance.
Fabian inquires as to whether he can film him as he walks through current Germany. Hitler concurs with the thought.
Fabian takes up some cash and a vehicle from his MOM and starts his excursion with Hitler.
The two end up in a lodging where Hitler gets entertained at seeing the TV.
He then chooses to discuss legislative issues in Fabian's show. He goes to places asking individuals about their perspectives on legislative issues.
After the meetings, he observes that there was minimal impact of democracy upon individuals during his non-appearance.
He discusses discontent and stifled outrage in individuals, which helps him to remember the 1930s, when individuals had comparative perspectives but missed the mark on term political disappointment.
Individuals enlighten Hitler concerning the issue of outsiders in the nation, making Hitler push his thought that blending the races doesn't work. Later, Fabian requests Hitler the source from his interesting moustache. Hitler answers that he cuts his moustache to the shape to fit a gas mask.
Sometime later, the two end up on a homestead where Hitler gets bit by a canine.
He is rankled and takes shots at the creature.
Fabian reprimands him and holds onto the firearm. As the visit goes on, Fabian at last hits a dead end financially.
Yet, he thinks about an arrangement and persuades the passers to have their representations drawn by Hitler. Hitler draws snide pictures which individuals find amusing and pay for. They proceed with their outing after gathering sufficient money. Back in the neighborhood, Fabian shows a clip of Hitler to Christoph.
The video has a great deal of views as Fabian had uploaded it on the web.
Christoph is dazzled by the huge number of views in the video.
He asks Fabian for Hitler's name and contact number. Subsequent to meeting him, Christoph suspects Hitler to be neurotic and requests that Fabian remove him from the workplace. Prior to leaving, Hitler enters the chief's office and requests that she save Germany along with him. Intrigued at the thought, Bellini asks him about the arrangement.
She quickly requests that her partner set up a legitimate television design for broadcasting the FHR on listening to Hitler's thought. Fabian then threatens Christoph to give him his work back, or, in all likelihood, he will remove Hitler. On hearing this, Christoph makes him a kitchen boy, promising to advance him when another publication post opens up.
Sometime later, Hitler is given a table in the television studio.
Christoph calls for Chromia to assist Hitler with PC use. Hitler reviews the PCs of his days and names the development to be quite possibly of the best. Chromia attempts to join Hitler to mail, but illuminates him that his name is as of now taken. Hitler snorts for others taking his name and advises her to involve New Reichschancellery as he liked it. Christoph plans to put Hitler on a live parody show called Hold Up Man. He is as yet pungent on the grounds that Bellini got an advancement rather than him and means to cause inconvenience for her.
He means to carry bigotry to the discussion through mocking jokes on Jews and throw out Hitler. The show begins, and Witzigmann, the host, calls for Hitler on the stage. The crowd tattles about Hitler's appearance, but when Hitler looks at the crowd, the lobby gets completely quiet. Hitler soon ends the silence, but doesn't read out the lines as prearranged. He explains that he is to make a wisecrack about workers, but he won't do so. He says that television is an incredible development of the human, but the shows communicated are gibberish. He reveals insight into issues like neediness and joblessness and gauges that individuals of the country are going towards the pit without seeing it. Hitler commits to battle against television, not just up to the transmission of the void, but also until he prevails with regards to beating them. Everybody loves the thought and applauds him. Seeing Hitler's notoriety, the host Witzigmann gets jealous.
Bellini requests that Christoph broadcast Hitler in every show. Christoph is bothered because of the failure of his arrangement.
In the accompanying scene, we see Hitler giving interviews on various television programs and offering that his motive is to make Germany extraordinary once more.
His prominence grows tremendously, and he meets several group and party leaders.
He starts beguiling them generally by sharing his thoughts. One day, Hitler and Fabian visit the NPD base camp in Berlin. He calls for ULF Bird, the government director of NPD, and asks him what his objective has accomplished up until this point. Hitler disparages him and says that they have burned through sufficient opportunity, and the development is shocked by their words.
Christoph gets invigorated and blissful when the police and head prosecutor Dar show up at the television studio.
They explain that they are there for a complaint of charging infringement of hate regulations. Bellini asks what they are to do then.
Rapidly, Christoph suggests that they might have to drop the FHR show.
The Dar says that they can keep the telecom on.
Bellini takes a sigh of help while Christoph fakes his grin. After the Dar leaves, Chromia surrenders a letter to Christoph, stating the installment of the canine which Hitler had shot before in his excursion. Christoph gets the letter joyfully, accepting it could be a method for creating problems.
Then, Hitler is put on a television program where he is posed direct inquiries about his various roles in the conflict.
Hitler answers that he needs to connect with individuals, but the questioner tells him that every one of his deeds can't be justified.
He shows him a clip of him shooting the canine. The video disturbs the crowd.
Hitler is infuriated and threatens him that he would do likewise to him.
He further says that he will turn their studio toward a parking area for tanks.
Christoph gets more joyful seeing individuals' negative reactions.
After the lamentable meeting, Bellini is terminated, and Christoph is designated as the new supervisor. From that point forward, Hitler goes to Fabian's home and starts residing with him. He communicates entertainment at the way taken by destiny and starts to compose his subsequent book. The book soon raises a ruckus around town.
After 90 days, at the television studio, everybody sits in a gathering where the monstrous misfortune that the organization has gone through is examined. Christoph accepts that Witzigmann's show will return them on target, but one representative illuminates him that he has left his place of employment. Christoph gets strained and lashes out at the show's workers for losing the show.
One of the staff recommends getting Hitler back, which intrigues Christoph. He searches for Hitler once more and offers Fabian that he will put 1 million in the film that Fabian and Hitler are shooting, assuming they, in turn, let them broadcast the film on their television.
Hitler and Fabian come to Chromia's home, where Chromia's grandma recognizes Hitler.
She claims that Hitler cast all individuals up and killed them. She calls him a lawbreaker and yells for him to get out. In the vehicle, Hitler shares that he is shocked at Chromia being a Jew.
He starts to put down Jews, calling them lesser people.
Fabian gets disheartened at Hitler's activities and his words.
Back on the set, Fabian gets Hitler to replay how he arrived at the spot.
He asks Hitler what occurred before the ball came rolling to him in the forest, but Hitler can't remember it.
Later that evening, he leaves the set and is encircled by certain hooligans. They call him the motivation to take Germany back and give him a hard blow all over. As Hitler wakes up, he ends up in a clinic before Bellini. Simultaneously, Fabian investigates the recording of the video he caught about the young men in soccer.
He looks at it and finds Hitler rose from where he was lying. Fabian gets astounded at what occurred before it.
He quickly goes to the spot and finds a board at the area expressing the verifiable area of FHR dugout. Fabian races to the medical clinic, but doesn't track down Hitler. Bellini says that he has made a beeline for the shooting set. Fabian uncovers that he is the genuine Adolf Hitler, but Bellini doesn't trust him.
Fabian acts frantic and attempts to madly make sense of his hypothesis. The watchmen attempt to get him, but he escapes.
Fabian then arrives at the set and points a weapon at Hitler.
When questioned about his character, Hitler makes sense of that he never professed to be any other individual.
Fabian says that Hitler is tricking individuals with his promulgation, to which Hitler answers that individuals chose a pioneer who shared his entire thought transparently in 1933. Fabian takes Hitler to the highest point of a structure with his weapon. He corners Hitler and declares him to be a beast. Hitler, in turn, claps back, saying that regular individuals chose a phenomenal man and shared the destiny of the country with him. He makes sense of that individuals picked him since they bear similar qualities in their internal hearts. An incensed Fabian shoots Hitler, making him tumble down the structure onto the road. Before long, Fabian hears Hitler's voice, who says that no German can dispose of him.
Furthermore, Hitler, who was just tossed down, shows up right behind it once more.
All of a sudden, Bellini calls for a cut in the studio, and everybody supports the shoot. Turns out that it was only a film shoot and an irregular entertainer was assuming the part of Fabian. Hitler then requests that everybody recollect the companions who could accompany them.
Elsewhere, Chromia is wailing seeing Fabian through an opening in the psychological ward.
Hitler and Bellini are caught up with giving signatures and meetings to individuals after the film blasts.
As they pass by a vehicle,
individuals on the road appear to be partial to Hitler and welcome him with deference.